I want to see one of these Villa players actually go, do you know what? I'm going to be the difference maker today. And I don't think they're seeing, Villa fans are seeing that enough. Guys, welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. Before we get into the video, as always, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. I wanted to talk about the situation regarding Dean Smith, of course, off the back of tonight's game. Aston Villa, 5 defeats, straight defeats in the Premier League now, a loss to Southampton. And, of course, it's possibly looking like worrying times for Villa fans. Of course, currently with 10 points after 11 games, only sitting 3 points ahead of relegation. And, of course, a lot of those teams do have a game in hand, obviously, with Villa being the first to play this weekend. It's an interesting one regarding the whole Dean Smith situation. You'd think after 5 losses now, pressure might be landing on him. And it has started to be talked about in the media more now about whether Aston Villa should look towards another manager. I wanted to do a video basically to give Dean Smith a bit of support, actually, if nothing else, and kind of list why I believe that Aston Villa should stick with Dean Smith at the moment, and they definitely shouldn't be looking to replace him. I mean, firstly, you have to consider the fact that quite a few managers have already gone in the Premier League. Of course, with Spurs getting rid of Nuno, one obviously being the latest, and also Steve Bruce going from Newcastle. It's quite an interesting one that already we're starting to see a couple of sackings so early into the season. It's a hard one. I think this early into the season, especially with what Aston Villa have done, Dean Smith hasn't had enough time to integrate the new players and maybe just kind of figure out a couple of situations that are ongoing. I think the main reason really why Dean Smith needs some more time is, of course, that big reason that everyone's going to be talking about, the fact that Jack Grealish left in the summer. Now, understandably, I think some people would make the point that, of course, Villa did spend a lot of money, and they have spent money to replace Jack Grealish. But some of those players are going to need time to embed into the Premier League and also embed into the Villa side. And, of course, you look at the result today, there were out a couple of players as well. And one of those big players, of course, Danny Ings, who is currently injured. You've also got to look at the defensive issue. So, obviously, Konsa and Mings, which were such a stable defensive partnership last year for Villa. And I'd argue that Konsa was probably the better out of the two. Of course, he weren't available for this game because of his red card, as well as Douglas Luiz also being out. Of course, the injuries, when you look at the sides today, there was a lot of issues in regards to the subs bench for me when you looked at Villa's subs bench, and the 3 changes that were made. They were quite young, inexperienced talent. And I like the fact that Dean Smith actually went and played those, gave them a chance. Of course, it didn't impact the game really against Southampton by delivering a goal or an assist. But it's good that he's given these young players a chance. Often you kind of see when these situations happen, you kind of see like the young players end up on the bench but not really played. I think it happens at a lot of Premier League clubs. So I really like the fact that he is giving the young talent a go. And I think Villa fans will really get behind that as well. Of course, going back to the Jack Grealish situation though, they sold Jack Grealish, of course, one of the, it was one of the biggest transfers, if not the biggest transfer of the summer, with Grealish going to City for £100 million. Now, what they lost with Jack Grealish, in my opinion, was a leader. They lost a captain. But most importantly, what they lost is, and I think it's something that Aston Villa are really lacking now, is someone that will take the game by the scruff of the neck, so to speak, and win those challenges, create those chances, get those goals and assists. And of course, there was early signs of that last season. When you look at how Villa performed before the Grealish injury and after, Villa looked like they could have gone on and secured European football before that Grealish injury. And of course, when it came in, Villa's form deteriorated after that for the rest of the season. It's an interesting one, though, because I think what they've really lost and what they really need now, and it's not Dean Smith's fault, it's the players' fault. I feel like the players, and especially the ones that have been there for a few years now, they kind of just rely on Jack. They've always relied on Jack Grealish to be that one to attempt to change the game. And I really think it's the players more than Dean Smith that need to be held accountable for that, because I feel they really need to start stepping up. And I want to see someone, I want to see one of these Villa players actually go, do you know what? I'm going to be the difference maker today. And I don't think Villa fans are seeing that enough with this Aston Villa team. And of course, you know, you've also got to consider other factors that Dean Smith has had to deal with in regards to the transfers that brought in. Yes, they spent a lot of money, but the first one, Danny Ings, of course, who played for Southampton, the team that Aston Villa have lost to tonight. When you look at Danny Ings, of course, what that meant is him and Ollie Watkins. It was a bit of a, what are you going to do with these two? Because they're great players. And of course, we saw Watkins at the start of the season go more out to the wing at the very start of the season. I think it's perhaps one that's not quite worked for Dean Smith at times. But it's one that he's having to try and balance, because I think both of those players are going to expect to start. And I think he needs time to kind of figure that out. You've also got, in my opinion, a really talented winger in Leon Bailey, who we've already seen signs of how good he can be at times. But you're going to get that inconsistency with Leon Bailey because, of course, new to the Premier League, a lot of players take time to adapt to the Premier League. It is a difficult league, and it's a very different league to perhaps the ones that, you know, other leagues. And especially with Leon Bailey, he came from the German league. I mean, just look what's happened to Sancho. Like, I think the German players, and I think you see it with the Spanish players as well, and sorry, not the players that come from those leagues, they take a bit of time to adapt. The French league is exact same as well. So I think Leon Bailey also needs time. Well, what you've got there is a couple of situations that Dean Smith needs time, in my view, to try and figure out. And I think he does really need that time as well. Of course, it's looking a bit of a sorry state at the moment for Aston Villa. But I do think Dean Smith has earned that time. Also, my opinion personally, you're looking around who's possibly available. And I can't really pick out a massive name that, you know, the club could get in Aston Villa at the moment. Should Dean Smith go? I mean, I suppose, you know, there's a couple of managers that have been sacked recently, but I don't think Steve Bruce, well, we already know Steve Bruce would not be on the list. And I can't imagine that Nuno Espirito Santo would be either for Aston Villa. I think it's quite clear that he just maybe needs a little bit of a break from football, but more importantly from the Premier League after his tenure with my club, Wolverhampton Wanderers, and obviously Spurs as well, which really didn't go to plan. So you're wondering if Dean Smith does go, who do they get in? I mean, it looks like Eddie Howe, who possibly could have been a name that Aston Villa may have looked towards, is of course heading to Newcastle. There's a real limited pool of candidates, especially with that Premier League experience. And I think if there was a man, if Aston Villa do end up in, you know, a relegation scrap, at the moment, I'll be honest, I'd probably still stick with Dean Smith. I do think Smith is going to get it right. I don't think he's been helped by the fact that the defence, especially Mings and Konsa, haven't looked as stable, and we've seen that with Tansavi getting some games, but still not quite working out. So I think that, you know, it's a difficult period at the moment for Aston Villa, but I do think they can bite back. So yeah, in conclusion, for me, they should stick with Dean Smith. Aston Villa fans or just fans in general, let me know if you agree with everything I said. Do you feel that they should stick with Dean Smith at the moment? And if not, let me know in the comments as well who they would bring in. Right, before we go, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're coming, and James, for our regular viewers, James will be back at the weekend. We're going to be doing two massive watch-alongs. The first one being Wolves Crystal Palace. And we're going to do one of the watch-alongs to one of the games on Sunday as well, which isn't on TV. We haven't fully confirmed which one, but please do look out for that. And if you would like us to do a watch-along for one of the Sunday games, also let us know in the comments which one. Right then, see you on the next one, hopefully. Goodbye.